The following is an official lore video of the Dark Diaspora Universe, a journey in world-building project.
Even with a makeshift micro-tank and rebreather, Adrian could hardly breathe. His constant exertion in the semi-noxious, heat-blasted atmosphere of Los Cerion was oppressive, but he had no choice but to push on. The surface of Los Cerion had never been a particularly hospitable world, with lakes and streams of lava and deep chasms crisscrossing a cracked, baked, and desolate world. It was a literal hellscape, teeming with horrific life forms, corrupted by the planet's seemingly malevolent energies. He turned and glanced behind him as he ran, spotting his pursuers no more than 250 feet behind. He had clocked them early in his escape, 3 bounty hunters hired by his employer and coalition affiliate, the Takashima Corporation. Adrian had thought himself discreet when stealing the plans. Clearly now his former employer had been fully aware of his actions. He had no choice, he justified to himself. The reality of the subterranean forge world was horrific, with overcrowding, food shortages, corruption, and religious zealotry. And the pollution of the foundries and factories rendered the snaking catacomb-like tunnel cities almost as inhospitable as the surface. The terrain ahead of Adrian was mostly flat, windswept by a never-ceasing gale of superheated air. His mask helped with the worst of biting sand squalls, yet he grimaced at the constant needle-like pain on his few patches of exposed skin. He bounded up a slight incline and reached the top of a small mound. He paused for a moment to catch his breath. Los Cerion's above-average gravity was debilitating, even after so many years. Yet, he soon realized his folly as 3 las rifle blasts whizzed past, striking the ground around him. As he ran once more, he scanned his surroundings. There was little cover available to break his pursuer's line of sight. Yet he did notice a lava flow about 150 feet ahead of him. As he approached, he saw it was a tiny tributary no more than 6 feet across. It would have to do. He made a break for the flow, trying to preserve what energy he could on his approach. With the flow less than 30 feet out, he quickened his pace as much as his exhausted body would allow, and leapt from the near edge of the lava stream. Propelling himself through the air was a tremendous feat of strength, fueled only by the inevitability of his certain doom should he fail. It was a moment before gravity reasserted itself, and his feet soon found purchase on the hard surface. Tumbling forward, he rolled up to his feet in time for 3 more blasts to whiz past his head. Yet, Adrian did not look back, bounding forward not only to escape his pursuers, but to get clear of the blast. For as he ran, he reached into his pocket and retrieved a remote detonator, pressing the switch. The small charge he had dropped on the bank of the lava flow before his jump suddenly detonated, its explosive force enough to punch a reasonable-sized crater into the terrain. As lava began to slowly fill the pock-marked crater, Adrian turned to see the 3 pursuers reach flowbank, unharmed from Adrian's attempted subterfuge. Frustrated and disappointed, he felt his remaining energy depleted. It had been his final gambit. Yet, as he chastised himself, the lava lake that fed the flow he had hurdled moments before suddenly erupted. Molten magma was thrown clear into the air and strewn across the landscape as Adrian was knocked back. It wasn't an explosion. It was a morgue. The giant tentacled creature, 60 feet in height, writhed in anger at the disturbance to its slumber. Its vast array of mangled and writhing tentacles, dripping with lava, gesticulated wildly in the air. Fortunately for Adrian, he was far enough away from the lake to not be in danger. His pursuers, however, were not so fortunate. One of the creature's tentacles lashed out at the bounty hunters, who immediately fired on the creature in shock and fear. The blasts did little but further anger the morgue, and soon a tentacle had grasped the 3 men. Adrian could hear their screams of agony as the barbed tentacle tore and burnt its way through their armor, clothes, and finally flesh. And within moments, the 3 had slumped to the ground, forming smoky piles of charred ichor. It was then that Adrian noticed a ship flying overhead. It was his ride. With hope recharging his otherwise spent energy reserves, He turned from the nightmare scene before him and ran towards the landing free flagger vessel. As Adrian approached the ship, its hold now open to receive him, the irony of his situation was not lost on him. For as much as Los Cerion had cost him everything, his family, his home, his job, his hope, it had also just saved him from inevitable torture and death. The compact did not take kindly to spies. As the ship returned to the skies, he slumped to the metallic floor beneath him, reaching up and removing the mask covering his face, and taking his first breath of cool, crisp air in over a decade. Even if the Janfarians refused to pay for the compact weapons plans he had stolen, he thought to himself, passageway from the hellhole of Los Cerion was more than sufficient compensation.
Hey!